All right, everybody, welcome back to the Mission Roll Call Town Hall. Jim, you know what? I'm just going to skip, not even introduce myself for a second because I'm just happy to have you back, man. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it is. All right, as everybody knows, I'll be your host today, Ray Whitaker. And then, of course, our co-host, I guess you're over here, is Mr. Jim Whaley, the CEO of Mission Roll Call. So, Jim, I know you were out last week, but like just in general, how are things? How was the trip?
Very good. I went up to DC, met with some great folks, met with some folks at the VA, talked about a lot of our polling, a lot of the things we're working on via homelessness, access to healthcare. They were very receptive. We had a great discussion. And then I also had the opportunity to participate in kind of a symposium, get together with some good folks. Yeah, they talked bad about you, but they talked good about us.
It must have been another Ray Whitaker, Jim.
Yeah,
it wasn't me. Yeah.
We the veterans. So Ellen and her team run that, and we talked a lot about just some ways that veterans in their community can get involved to help each other. And their really focus is making sure that the voting process that veterans get involved with the voting process.
Yeah.
Making sure people get registered, make people come in. And so now we have a lot of veterans volunteering for that. It's an easy lift. They get involved with the community. They meet people in their community, and they make sure that they watch the voting process. And everybody wants a good voting process, right? So good discussion about that. And of course, that organization's doing a lot of other stuff. So people interested in this, you go check that out. We, the veterans, and then also, of course, our resource directory where you have a lot of different organizations. I mean, we could spend a whole discussion on all the different organizations, all the great work
we should
do, right? We should do that. We should really just talk. But yeah, great trip. Anybody who travels knows that traveling's no fun anymore, but that's just a personal gripe, but hey, it was fun to see some like-minded people and folks that are really pulling the same wagon, trying to get veterans engaged and getting voices heard. So yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was good to have you back. Kyle, good morning to you this morning. Jason, good to see you. Leah, Roger, everybody. For everybody that's listening today, as always, you guys have the ability to actually, whatever platform, I don't know what platforms you guys are on, but there's a lot. Be more than happy. Post up comments. You got questions about something that we're talking about, please post it up. Today, I'm really excited. I wouldn't, excited is probably not the right word, but I am excited in a sense that we get to talk about veteran homelessness. So we've done a lot of research on this internally to the organization. We brought some folks onto the team to help us better explain it, that have lived through this. And that's what today's conversation is really about, is to kind of talk about this and dissect it a little bit. I can guarantee you, hang around, just a little bit, because you're going to learn some today. Like that, I can promise you. And some may be shocking, to be honest.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. I had a little something stuck there in my throat. Sergeant Stevens, good to see you. Hope you're doing well as well. All right. Big stuff. We got our monthly survey. As you guys know, a little administrative here. If you guys have not gone and taken our survey, everybody will post these on the different channel. Please, this thing's probably, I don't know, 5 minutes, Jim? It's probably going to take.
Yeah, it's real quick. It's real easy to do. It's so important.
Yeah. Listen, most of what we're doing right now is based off of, what you guys are doing inside of these surveys. So it's really important. I can't stress anymore the importance of your voice being able to lead things, right? A lot of decisions just need that. And that's really it. So take 5 minutes of your time. We also want your friends and your family to take that, because it gives us an objective of how your family feels, maybe a little bit different than you. And of course, the population, we need that. So everybody that takes this is good. It helps us out. Next town hall is going to be July 8th. So it'll be after America Day, as we call it, the 250th anniversary of this great nation. So a couple of days later, we'll be coming back together to have a town hall. I can't remember what that one's about, but we're going to have a guest on, I think, for that one. Well, I don't want to spoil it because I don't want to say it wrong, because it may be something different. During this town hall, as I mentioned, if you guys have questions, something you want to talk about, we hit on something, you want to add data, you want to contact us, whatever, you guys can just comment on the platform you are. So I already see some of you commenting over here. Don't be shy. It doesn't matter if you're on Meta, Twitter, wherever you are. This is very beneficial for us. And the goal here is to really just keep crushing things internally and getting y'all's feedback. So Jim, we had an opportunity to talk a little bit about what you did last week in DC. So I don't want to rehash that. One thing that was kind of interesting though, I was, surfing on the VA, right? I was just doing a little bit of
Right.
searching the other day, and I was looking, because we talk about this 9 million, that are inside of the VA system, and then there's like this 9 million ish that aren't tied to the VA.
Yeah.
Can you explain kind of why it's important for the 9 million that probably is not registered to be a VA? They've not gone, why it's so important for them to at least go and sign up and look and see what benefits they maybe able to get?
Yeah, a lot of reasons to do that. And I fell into that category because I didn't go to the VA until I was out for almost 20 years, retired. And then I was sitting around with my team. We were talking about the challenges of navigating the VA system and benefits and that. And I went, well, I haven't really done it. And the team kind of challenged me and said, you need to do it. You need to go through it if just for the fact of going through it and having some empathy for those that have gone through it as well. And I did. And of course, then found out, yeah, you're eligible for some things because of where you deployed and the things that you did. So I think the first point would be you may be leaving some significant benefits on the table. And I think the more veterans do that, the more powerful we are as a group of people within the country. And the VA then has the ability to really research and see where some of these issues are with a wider group of people. So think about the data they can get, and then that helps them plan for the future. So if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for the group that's coming in the service right now, or maybe a son and daughter, because those benefits, if not taken advantage of, somebody will pull them away and they'll go somewhere else. And I also think that, when I did that, I met a lot of good people along that way, along that process. And I think it binds you back to your service again, and it opens up maybe some floodgates of memories and things like that, because you're kind of forced to go, okay, where'd you go? What you do? Oh yeah, I did do that. I did do this, because sometimes you put it on the back burner. But I think there's some significant benefits that you could be leaving on the table by not doing that. I think the other piece, besides meeting people and going through that process, is, think about it. We have the world's largest medical system, focused on 9 million. Think about how much more they could grow and provide benefits and technology and things like that if they tapped into the other 9 million.
That's right.
So if in doubt, just go to your local. Most counties have it. Most small towns, there's this easy way to look up who's closest and let them know you're a veteran in that community. Even if you don't do anything else, at least they know how many veterans are in that area, and that's helpful for everybody. So just do it.
Yeah.
It's easy.
What's the loss?
Right.
What's the loss of? And the reality is, I think, and again, this is an opinion. That's the great part about this is we have these sometimes.
Right.
From my perspective, there is a lot of what I would call social media. When you look at social media news in general, you're going to see a lot of negative because that's what propagates to the top, right? So I find that, I had a conversation with a buddy this weekend that's getting out, and very much like me, he didn't want to file disability because like his thing is like, hey man, I can walk, I can talk, I can do all the things. And like, I don't want people to look at me negatively. And I'm like, in my mind, I understand the point. But, as I'm sitting there talking to him, I'm like, it's not about, the problem is people look at the disability or the benefits or anything else as like it's money that's coming in. A smart person told me the reason that you do the benefits and you go through the VA process and everything is because the future, right? Which now I'm starting to live. Like the pain's getting more severe. There's things that are not working like they're supposed to. Like all of these things through life kind of happens. So it's more about making sure that you have those things logged, you're in your system, so that when the time comes, shouldn't look at it as, what do I deserve, not deserve, and the money part of it, because I see a lot of people checking out because they keep seeing this echoing thing right now of like, I don't want to request something and then I get it, then I got the government coming after me because I want to pay it back because they think that I'm lying about my injuries.
Yeah, that's not the case. That's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So thank you for that, Jim. So for those
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
have not had an opportunity, get out there, va.gov. It's very simple. Take you a couple minutes, log in, get her done. And then that way you guys have it ready. You got it prepared. And then see what benefits change a lot. There's no reason that you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Jim,
And
next.
and just one more point, Ray, sorry to interrupt, is that maybe you did it 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and you figured you'd check that box and move on. I would urge you to go back. Because there's been a lot more things added to the process and more technology and more research. And of course, your body has changed too. So to just go back and do a recheck, I think is important. So obviously, if you've never done it, you should do it. But if you have done it, you should go back again. And it's not that painful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Heath just wrote a note here. Veterans who BS about their injuries are far outnumbered by vets who do not get the care they need. This is the point, right? And I think that the main part, there's a system in check. The system will figure out the bad apples. That's the way the system works. At some point, that will happen. But the point
and
is,
we all see that on feeds
yes.
where, if you're here, go there, and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. But the point is, there's a lot of people that we're meeting, that we're talking to, the articles that we get an opportunity to write about, just some phenomenal veterans that aren't receiving the care that they need, and they're not stepping forward, and they're not asking for help, and we want to normalize, and we want to normalize the idea it's okay to ask for help, man. Like there's like, you know what I mean? Like you served your country, you deserve it. Like we got you. Right. And I think that that's the important part of here. So we just don't want the bubbling of all the negativity to continue to push down the other side, because it naturally will. It's going to be, the good will start to go underneath because they're concerned about what people are going to think. And that's not the intent right now.
Right.
Okay. All right, Jim. So the other thing that we did is we released the 2026 limited edition shirts. This year, is interesting, kind of talking through the team. The team put this together on what they wanted. It was supposed to be one shirt, and then it turned out to be two shirts.
Yeah.
And man, this is very powerful. We had two versions of the shirts that were there. One's Still Here, and then one's You Matter. So Nate, if you can click on the Still Here shirt just to kind of pull that one up, and then we'll look at the other one. So you've got the front here, which is kind of a dog tag. So anybody that served in the military or family members, or the iconic dog tag is what you remember. And the idea here is the Still Here shirt is for the veterans that want to let other veterans know that they're still here, man. They've lived through the struggles, the everything that we always do, but they're still here. They're fighting it. Like they're not going to give in to any of the stereotypes or things that may be blocking them from living their life. The other side of that is the You Matter. So when I think about, my time speaking to buddies, or like my family constantly telling me that if I need something, tell them, hey man, you matter. We care about you. We don't want you to be a statistic. We don't want you to not ask for help. And that's what this shirt is about. It's about the supporters, or a veteran that may not want to say they're in struggles, but they want to tell other veterans that they matter. On the back of the shirt is a fingertip. As we all know, the fingertip, your fingerprint, that is your identity as a human. So that's what we wanted to put. And then inside of that fingerprint, it's kind of hard to see, but there's there's text and everything inside of that. I don't want to tell you what it says, for those that get it, you'll see it, but it's very meaningful. We absolutely love the design of this shirt and the meaning. The meaning to me is probably the most impactful part of this shirt. So if you guys, if you guys don't mind, if you guys can post this on the socials, that way everybody can see it. We would appreciate you guys. We don't do a lot of asking for support internally. We got a lot that's happening. We try to give as much out as we possibly can. This is definitely one way to help us continue to do what we do on a daily basis. And I don't know,
Jim,
and
that shirt will spark conversation. Because it's so different and so unique. And that's great, because either in your shopping, or you're at the gym, or wherever you are, somebody's going to come up and say, what's that mean? Or they come up and go, hey, thanks for your service. I was in the Army as well, or whatever, and start that conversation. So I think that's great. And the more connections we make with, folks that have served, their family members of those, I think the better off it is, because then you just, human connection is important. And then you find ways that you can be helpful, or they can be helpful to you, all those good things. So, yeah. Go out there and buy it, man.
All right, now to the big conversation of the day. So this is the juicy stuff. This is where we get to get in and talk a little bit about veteran homelessness. And, I just want to tell this story to kind of lead in because, for everybody that's here, I had an opportunity to work with Jim and really almost everybody that's on our team at some point in my life. We either served together in the military or we were in other organizations together. And I remember meeting Jim with the USO back in the day. It was USO of North Carolina. Then we moved to big USO. And I remember that, when you and I talked about USOs, or not USO, but just nonprofits in general,
Mhm.
when I was leaving the USO, we wanted to make an impact to folks and be as good as we can to those that were around us. And part of that was doing something that would be meaningful. When you and I talked about mission roll call the first time, and we looked at what some of the priorities were that the team prior to us had already been working on with veterans, it was pretty clear that mission roll call needed to exist. There was a gap there that needed to. Now, this is based off the information and the data we had at the time. Since then, we put a whole kind of focus on this idea of research, right? So we went across and said, hey, if we're going to talk about an issue, we want to know what veterans are saying and their families and the American people, right? So we have that. Then when they vote and they tell us what they want us to look at, then we're going to research those topics and try to get to the root of the problem. Because anybody that's served, and Jim, I know you know this better than anybody, the thing that we do well in military service is solve problems. Like that's basically what you're doing every day, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm missing a gas cap on this Humvee.
Right.
How do I find a new one? Right. I don't know how it got there, but we got another gas cap, an hour later, and it was on the Humvee, right? Like you're just solving a
Right.
problem.
Right.
So I think when we started looking at veteran homelessness, the seriousness of this really started to kind of boil, right? So we went out, we met Yvette Jones Swanson. She's phenomenal. She had an opportunity to come into organization, write some stories for us. She's now writing stories about countless veterans that are living through homelessness. Because the idea here, the more stories we have, the more information you have, the better than you can present. And Mike Desmond does a phenomenal job of taking this and presenting it like, hey, it's not mission roll call, right? It's this is veterans that are telling these stories. So I wanted to take us back just a little bit so we can walk through these stories today, Jim, and look at the 2025 veteran homelessness page that we put together last year, which we'll be re-updating this year as we do our research again to see what's new. We conducted the research on it. We learned that there is a lot of conflicting numbers, right? So Nate, can you scroll back up to the top real quick? Because I want to talk about that. So we learned there's a lot of conflicting numbers. Like, remember you and I were like, there's so many numbers coming. And I remember there was like a number 37,000 and 132, and there was like 35. What we learned, it was that 33,000 veterans is the floor. Like we don't even know how many veterans are actually homeless. And for those that are listening, let me say that again. We only know that there's at least 33,000. We for sure can tell you that there's 33,000 veterans that are homeless. We have no idea what that number is. And what we learned, Jim, was the point in time counts only happen once a year. Yeah. They don't happen in every state.
Nope.
Every state looks at, Nate, you can scroll down now. Every state looks at veteran homelessness differently, right? So some states, if you're in a tent, you're not homeless. Some states, if you're, on a buddy's couch, you're not homeless. This was really, really important. And I think a very powerful note that came from this is one that said, if you're not seen, you're not counted. And if you're not counted, you're not helped, right? This is part of what came out from our research. So Jim, I'd love to throw this over to you. I know you've talked about this a lot. We've had some testimonial stuff that has come up from this. Mike and you are consistently talking about how do we look at this, but I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on this as we start moving into these other stories in a minute.
Yeah, it really is a scourge for our country because it's hard to fix a problem. You use the gas cap analogy, but any problem is hard to fix when you don't know the scope of the problem. And to me, homelessness is one of those situations where we don't know the scope of the problem. I think 33,000 is way low compared to how many people are actually transitory with their homes. Either they're completely homeless or they just lost a home or apartment. They're staying at a buddy's place or their sister's couch or whatever. And then they find a place again, and then they're out again. So those numbers aren't anywhere near where they should be. And if you think about it, and all the technology we have today, it's mind-boggling to me that the way we figure out these numbers is a point-in-time survey, which basically means people going around with a clipboard, counting people on one night of the year, and then figuring out if they're homeless, and then on top of that, if they're a veteran or not.
That's right.
So you can understand that those numbers are not accurate.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons for that. And sometimes it happens right when you transition out of the military, right? If you think about it, you have housing, you have you don't have to drive very far to get groceries because maybe you're living on post or you're living in the barracks or whatever. And then and let's say, sake of the argument, you're getting paid $50,000 in the Army, and now you've gotten a job that pays $60,000 on the way out, and you think, oh, well, I have a $10,000 increase. But when you do the math and you figure out your health care and now your transportation costs and now your housing costs and all that, you're actually below order on where you work. And then you lose your job, or you miss the payment, or the transmission goes out. You get really sick. Any number of bad things, right? And now you're homeless. I also think the numbers are off because people are embarrassed by it.
That's right.
And so they're not going to raise their hand. We know that numbers on female veterans has gone up about 24%, where the number of homelessness has gone down. And I think that number is even higher because if you think about if you're a woman and you have a small child or two, and now you're homeless, you're worried about losing custody of that child.
That's right.
So that's another inhibitor of you raising your arm and saying that. So, it's so frustrating that a nation that has so much wealth and so much ability to fix the problem, we don't know the scope of this problem. And I would love to see veteran support organizations across the board coming together to fix this, rather than kind of a disjointed effort in this regard. And I firmly believe no one's going to fix it except the veteran community.
Yeah.
I mean, because it just hasn't gotten fixed. And so we have to do that. And that's why we're talking about it. And we're using polling and we're using our data and giving that to decision makers at the VA and in the HVAC, the House Veterans Affairs Committee, and the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, talking to the media about it. I talk to strangers about it. I think all of us have to be advocates to fix this problem.
That's right.
And we have to help veterans because honestly, by the grace of God, any one of us could be in that situation. It's really going to take a national effort to fix it. But we got to find the scope first. And that's why we're highlighting these stories. And some of them are very emotional stories. I would urge anybody to share some of the content we have on this. And our folks have done a wonderful job personalizing the numbers, telling the story of individuals that have gone through the problems. And, I think that's important to do. You got to put a face to this. So I'll pause there. Otherwise I'll eat up all the time just talking about it.
I think it's good. And Raymond Denon just said far too many veterans are one unexpected expense away from homelessness or having to cut important functions of life. And,
couldn't agree more.
And Yvette talks about this a lot, this term stability, right? Which is like it's what we all just want in life. That doesn't mean that our urges, because I get in these philosophical conversations and I try not to, because it's just I'm not smart enough, I think, honestly, to get into them. Right. I just want to fix things. I want to make people happy. I want to be kind. I want to have empathy and just help people. I get it, man. There's going to be veterans that are out there that are in situations that don't want help. That's fine. That's cool. But that doesn't mean that I don't still try to help them. Right. It's really hard. you got to put yourself in their shoes and understand that they've probably gone through a system that is not cared. So it's not you, it's the system that they've lived through for so long that they just have a trust problem. We all have been there at some point. So the only way you change that, and Jim, I love that you mentioned this, is one, I do agree the veteran community needs to be part of this, but everybody has to understand it doesn't start at the US government level, right? It's the one thing we learned through the research is that a lot of these are city, county, state problems along with government problems. And when you smash those two together, you're just creating this firestorm. The second part, Jim, I love that you said is you got to humanize the number. I mean, even if it's 33,000, okay, let's pretend like that's the number today. That's 33,000 people, man. Like I can't even.
Yeah, that's 33,000 stories.
Yeah,
that's 33,000 parents that are distraught over their child being homeless.
that's right.
It's 33,000 brothers and sisters that are devastated by their brother or sister being homeless.
Yeah.
So it has multiple impacts, not to mention children, not to mention,
That's right.
all those other impacts that go into it. So you're right.
Yeah. So, well, that takes us into like the stories, right? So big part, we research it. I think the entire team was like set back on the data and was like, okay, I don't even understand what I'm reading right now because we don't really even know what the problem is, right? Again, just we're throwing money at a thing and we're not really sure how to solve the thing. Obviously then comes in Yvette, right? Yvette comes in, just a wonderful human being and goes, hey, look, I've got a story. I was one of those. I was that statistic. I was that number. And then I now deal with people all over the United States, veterans that are in this situation. And so the next article, one of the articles that she put together was the veteran has income. So why are they still homeless? So this was interesting to me as we're talking. She's like, hey, listen, many veterans actually have retirement benefits that are homeless. They get disability. They have Social Security. And I think what Raymond was saying down here is such an important part of this. But they have the things that they need to live. She put the story together about Sergeant Wolf, who had the support system, had basically a voucher that allowed for the 2-bedroom housing to get it. Here's the problem. The economy locally didn't have that 2-bedroom housing that she needed. So guess what? Voucher goes out of date. Sergeant Wolf is still homeless because the process that we have put into place is not allowing for the veteran to utilize the system appropriately to get what they need because the economy, the availability in that area is not matching what the veteran needs. And Jim, we saw this with I'm not going to mention her name, but we had talked to the individual from Florida, right? The Air Force veteran. And the exact same thing was happening. I've got the ability. I've been approved, but I can't find a place. They won't accept me. Like there's nowhere to like how infuriating that is. The system again, and this highlights the government level, you're going to do these things, but then when you get down to city, county, state level, everything changes because the environment doesn't match. To support the veteran. So Jim, from this story, was there anything that kind of glared to you from this one where she talked about Sergeant Wolf and just, the voucher and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, just that, the bureaucracy sometimes that is put into place, I'm sure it has the best of intentions, but in reality, it just didn't work. And so I think there has to be common sense put into the system that allows a voucher to be used. And I don't understand why we have deadlines and arbitrary parameters that make it difficult. I mean, the challenge is if you're homeless, your health care is really bad in most cases. Your diet is really bad. You can't apply for a job because how are you going to get there? So it's a cycle of things that happens. And so to me, what that showed was how, to your point, how infuriating. You're that close to breaking the chain and then you're pulled right back into it.
That's right.
And we've had people just $1,000 off right?
That's right.
That's all we needed to get over the hump. And the comment that you're right, there is a large percentage of Americans, and obviously we're part of that as a subset of veterans, that are really one flat tire away from being homeless. And I know that sounds extreme, but think about the chain of effect, right? Costs a couple $100 to get the car towed, get a new tire on it. You missed a day of work, so now you lost that income. You may get let go. Any number of those things happen. And then you don't have the money to pay, so now you're on default, and so it just cycles.
Yeah,
It speeds
yeah,
up fast.
yeah.
And so it would be great if we had a better safety net and an ability for all the veteran support organizations to kind of work together on this. And I know, Abby, and I know that's a utopian thought, and I realize not every veteran support organization is focused on homelessness, and some are doing X and some are doing Y, but this is a big issue because this affects suicide numbers. It affects so many other things that we really need to bring awareness to it. And that's why these polling is so important. That's why sharing this information with people in your community is important. And roll up your sleeves and get involved. The more people we get involved, the more likelihood this is going to be fixed. It's not going to be fixed by mission roll call. There's no way our organization of 12 people is going to fix a national homelessness problem. But what we can do is bring awareness to it, mobilize forces, squawk on it, pop flares, bring attention to it, and hopefully galvanize people's hearts so that they see a problem and they run to it. Because I'm still convinced veterans are great at fixing other veterans. We're really good at that. And give us a problem, and we'll go on it. But we're just kind of waiting on somebody to ask, well, now's the call. Now you've gotten the order. We need your help. If it's from buying a shirt to help us do it, or if it's taking a survey, or doing both, or getting involved in the community in homelessness, please do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd be interested for those that are listening or just kind of working and hearing what we're saying. What is your thoughts? I think please post it up in the comments just because I'm interested to get this. I think we're close to it. So we get, I get emotional about homelessness and suicide and a lot of these, but I think you hit on something that's important is like all of this is the life of a veteran. So at any point, a thing can throw you off that path very quickly, and trying to get back onto that train that's going the appropriate way is really, really hard. And I think that's just the uniqueness of why homelessness to me is like such an important thing, because man, it touches so many things just in general.
Yeah.
So, the next thing, Jim, as we talk about like the next article, because we had a couple articles we want to talk about today. The next one is really the article was leading into the 5 barriers veterans face when trying to find stable housing. Right. So then, your vet story kind of brought up this idea. Well, okay, well, that's weird. The vouchers should work, right? Like there should be an issue.
Yeah.
Is there other barriers that are causing this to happen? And yes, what we learned is that system friction and bureaucratic delays are part of it, right? Again, we're not just talking big government, right? We're going up and down. So this is at the lowest level all the way up. You've got a transition gap, right? When somebody leaves service and they're leaving from military, which you just talked about, they're now moving out and they're moving into the next part of life. There's an understanding of what they're supposed to have that they're not getting. You have a benefits gap and financial instability. And I know we talk to the VA about this a lot, man. We appreciate the VA for many things, right? There's a lot of the VA, but the problem is the VA is a very large organization. I can't find half the stuff that I need to find in a VA, right? So trying to go and find the thing. So imagine somebody coming out and trying to find that data, or, maybe they're because there's some veterans don't even have stable internet, to be frank. And that's usually our rural veterans. But you have a lot of they don't even have the access to get to it. And then trying to find it is painful. Again, I talk about, rural veterans. Well, that's a barrier. rural versus the urban divide. These are two different sets of, veterans. One may be where rural's a little bit harder to get the care that they need because they're in the mountains, man. Like there's not a VA facility right down the road, and there may not be enough community care. And then the final piece is the mental health and substance use as compounding factors, right? Just like me, I'm not ashamed to say it. I mean, I'd left service and, yeah, man, maybe I like to have a couple sippy poos, each night. And the problem is it just kept being sippy poos each night.
Mhm.
And I don't think that I understood that, like, that's not natural, man. You shouldn't be drinking, every night, 4 o'clock, man. I'm like, hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and go straight downstairs, put my Hawaiian shirt on, put a little umbrella in there with a little straw, and
Yeah.
just going to town on a beverage and
Right.
realizing that, hey, man, that's not
Good.
healthy, and it's not a good choice for me to be moving that direction.
Right.
Well,
Right.
Jim, from your perspective, I mean, that's a lot of barriers, and there's gonna be more, right? Like I wish you could do. I mean, we just gave 5 here, but is there
Yeah.
any of them that just kind of stands out to you more than another?
Yeah. I think for me, it's always a combination of all those things. So I think we have a tendency of think of things in, this one, this one, this one, this one, but in actuality, it's a combination of all of those that provides an environment that is stifling for progress. So it could be a little bit of this and a little bit of that, that causes a systematic inability to kind of move forward with your life in a meaningful way and get pulled back into a situation that is not good for your family and not good for you. And any one of those things can really derail you in the process. I do feel, though, if I had to highlight one, I think there's an underestimation by most people when they get out of the military, and maybe this is a knock on the TAP program, and if it is, be it so. I don't know if it really does a very good job and to really help people think through financially what those impacts are, what you have to plan for when you do leave the military, and the gap analysis of, oh, now I have to pay for, groceries outside the commissary, which is going to add it a percentage. I'm going to have to get my own health care. That's a big percentage. I don't have a stable job. We've all worked in companies, in organizations that truth changes overnight. And what you thought was a secure job is now being outsourced or just being cut. And now, of course, you have 2 week severance, and that's not enough to carry. And then on top of that, you have to now find health care. So all those type of things can happen to really get you off course. So it would be great, I think, of a better understanding for people to do that. And I think that's where I think we're helpful at Mission Roll Call, because we do have Mission Roll Call University, and we do have these discussions here that kind of help people think about it. But I know, even talking to people that I know, they're just graduated in the academy, or they're into the service now and they're thinking about get out. I ask them some hard mathematical questions, and I see some panic in their face, and I know they haven't done the math. I said, well, you need to think about that. Well, I can't do that at scale. We have to do that. And that's what we're trying to do. So I think underestimating the grade of the hill that you are now going to climb when you get out is significant. It should inhibit you in following your dreams, in doing it. I don't want that message to get across, but I do think you have to understand, okay, you have to pack accordingly for that trip.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's a unique part of, like, the Veteran Resource Directory, right? I mean, which is the point you're making here, is like this is this push that we've been on, of, like, we all have to work together, like, because there's this hardness, right? And I mean, we always speak probably too openly, but there's this part with being a nonprofit where you have to worry about funding, because you at one side of it, although everybody would love to do this for free, all the nonprofit folks that are out there, right, and do it. The
Yeah.
reality is that there's a cost to operate, man. Like I wish half the things that we did that everybody would allow us not to have to pay for when we do an MPO symposium and we have 25 nonprofits there. But guess what? You got to pay, right? I mean, the good news is I feel way more better for us because we have a decent process in place for that. But that seems to be the first hurdle you've got to get past with the MPOs is like this understanding that like the only way we're going to combat and help self-correct some of these things is by working together on the thing. Because yeah, you may be working on transition and you look at homelessness and go, I don't do that. Actually, you do. Like actually you're the transition part of this. If you don't do your part and you don't understand the homelessness part, you're not connecting those two together, we're going to have a problem because at some point that person can go that path, right? The person could go from transition to homelessness or depression or, so many other things that could happen. So you are part of it and you have to own that part, but we all have to be communicating because you need to understand how each person affects that path of that veteran and their family, which is important, right? It's not usually just one person. This is an entire family. And I got to be honest. I mean, when I think of me, I could fail at something and it would impact me. It would impact me because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. But I think if I failed my family, that would be hard, man. I don't know how I would take that because I've not really thought about it like that.
Yeah.
But I've never been in those shoes, but I definitely know for a couple of folks we've had on a show or we've talked to in the podcast or whatever that have had that happen and they went far right immediately because they couldn't look their own family in the face because they felt like they had failed them when actuality the family was not thinking that, right? Like that's not what the family, but for us, we don't, no fail, right? Everything we do, missions, no fail. So I don't know if you had anything else, Jim, to add to
that. It would be great if, I hate to keep harping on this, but when you look at the power of all the veteran support organizations across the nation, I mean, one of the things that we're getting a lot of visibility with is we go in there with thousands of polling numbers, and it's powerful to show those numbers in front of Congress and the VA and the press. Because we're the only ones kind of doing that. Yeah. If you look at the veteran community, it's changing. It's no longer going to the American Legion places anymore, and it's changing. The dynamic is changing, and they're gravitating to things like this, and using the ability to have their voices heard through polling and some other things. But we need to think about it as organizations as how we come together to really solve problems versus this is my bucket, that's your bucket.
That's right.
Because there's not a finite amount of resources out there. I'm not taking your resources away. And it's actually much more powerful to go into a governor's office or a senator's office and say, hey, these 50 veteran support organizations representing 10 million veterans thinks this. And here's the polling to show it. And these are some of the gaps. That's more powerful than this organization on a Tuesday going in and that one on a Thursday and different messages. And so that's part of the reasons why some of these problems are still lingering.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, you got to humanize it, right? If it's a number, I'll make whatever decision I want because it's a number. It's not a big deal. But when it's Jim Whaley, a father with daughters that are when you start adding you humanize the numbers, you kind of think like September 11th, right? I remember, I think the impact for us a little bit different because it was we were serving, like we could look to the right and left. We understood the impact. Right. But I remember, somebody, when they gave the number, the thousands, it was just like, somebody's like, it was only a couple thousand. Like somebody said that. And I'm just like, man, that's moms, that's dads, that's brothers, that's sisters. In fact, here's their names. That's like an entire family. That's not just one person that's impacted by that. If I just pick one person out of this and I put that person here, it's a tree. It branches to all these other people.
Oh yeah,
and it's the same thing
and multiple generational effects.
Yeah, right, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so the last article we had, Jim, was really was about why housing is the foundation of veteran well-being. I lived
Mhm.
through this, but not me personally, but like I did a lot of homelessness stuff here in North Carolina when I first got out.
Yeah.
And I remember having conversations with folks, and it was about like, "Hey, I've got to have a job to have a house, and then I've got to have a house to have a job," right? And I
Mhm.
didn't really understand what the veteran was trying to tell me, but it was like all of them leads to basically what this article was saying is the point of the article is that housing is not the finish line for a veteran's well-being. It's the starting line, meaning you've got to give them the stability first to allow them then to move forward. Right. So when I think of Raymond's note here, the unexpected expense away from being homeless. Well, the point is stability. It's about having a place, right? Having something to call yours or somewhere you can stay.
Yeah.
I wanted to throw this over to you, Jim. What does that statement in housing mean to you? That you know, the housing, the stability is really it's the starter. Like it's the thing that you need first to really branch off of.
Yeah, I mean, it's so fundamental to have a place to live, right, and to operate out of, and not having that just puts you so far behind. And sometimes the planning sequence doesn't think about that, or the resources don't allow for it. So it's very difficult to go through a job interview and get your car registered and all of those sort of things unless you have a place of residence. And so I think we have to do a better job, I think, to make sure that people that are transitioning understand that, because I think housing just becomes second nature to them and they haven't thought that out. I think the other thing is there has to be some kind of process to offset some costs and maybe micro loans and things like that that are going to help veterans get through this a transition period. Because quite frankly, anybody that's got out of the service, as soon as you say you are, you're treated differently immediately.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
once you leave, you're gone.
Yeah.
I mean, even and it's amazing, and it's not done in a mean spirited way. It's just like, okay, well, you're not with us anymore. We got to focus on what we're.
That's right.
It's more mission oriented versus a personal thing. Um, so I think we have to we have to make sure that people are educated in this process and understand it. And I think, like I said earlier, I think as a veteran support organization, we have to, and that's why I love our directory, because it
Yeah.
helps veterans. Hey, man, this is my zip code I'm moving to. What are some organizations that can help me there? That is a great first start. And then reading these articles, I think, is the second great start to give you a sense, a situational awareness is like, oh, this is a real thing. This could happen to me if I
That's
don't
right.
plan accordingly.
That's right.
Um, and I think both of those, and I think the third part is, okay, let's say the worst case scenario happens. What are some lessons learned by others that have gone through it of how I mitigate it? And I think those three things are really important.
Yeah.
And if just one of those things stick with one person that's watched this today, then this has been successful.
Yeah. And then Mad Vet came in and said, "What the f is going to take to make the government give a crap about the homeless issue with those who gave their life?" Yeah, and Matt, I mean, this is what we're talking about, right? That's the when we did our research, it was really interesting to notice on our side that this is like a very huge, this issue is much broader than just like a government issue, right? This is a city, county, state, government, and community based. One of the points that Jim brought up that I truly agree is the best people to accomplish this is going to be us. It's going to be the veterans that
And we got
served
to do it.
and being that voice, right? There's 18 million, 17, 18 million, who knows what the number is, right? It's like anything else, but there's 18 million of us that are out here along with our families. We have the ability to make change. I mean, we've seen that already the last 2 years. When veterans stand up about an issue, you see the meter pushes.
Oh yeah.
We've seen it multiple times this year, over the last 2 years that we've really been focusing on these things. So I appreciate what you have there, because I could tell you're just as passionate about this as we are, that we really want this to be something that we're not talking about anymore moving in.
Yeah, I mean,
future. But
the
unfortunately,
way it gets solved is our voices have to be heard, right? That's the whole
that's right.
motto of what we're doing. So your voice has to be heard, and it's just not the 18 million veterans, right? It's if you think about 18 million veterans and a significant other or a spouse or your family member, right now you're going to multiply that 18 million by a factor of times 2 or times 3. Now you're talking 30, 40 million people that are affected by veterans issues. That is a sizable voter block.
Yeah.
That gets attention by the media and that gets attention by elected officials. But we have to harness that energy. That's why every time we talk about polling, we talk about hearing your voice, because that's the way we're going to affect change. And it's not something, and this is not a shot at the VA at all, but it's not something that they're going to come out and talk about, because it's not a fun thing to talk about. And the numbers are not getting very better, right?
Yeah.
Same with suicide. We're talking about it because we know through listening to you that this is an important issue. And we know through the amount of effort we've put in on telling these stories, getting out there and talking to people, talking to other organizations, that this is a significant problem that is underrepresented, and it's not getting fixed to the degree and the pace that anyone listening to this would be happy with.
Yeah.
No one is saying, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You've got to make this viral, man. Like if you want change, I mean, you got to speak your mind. And this is issue none of us. Renewed Hope Canines of Virginia. Thank you so much for stopping in today and hanging out with us. They made the comment, more orgs like the National Center for Healthy Veterans, AKA Valor Farm, would be great. I know there are a few others like them scattered across the country. Yeah. I mean, one of the interesting, I mean, there's a couple that we're connected to, you know, that we're hoping, man, that but the amount of time that they're spending trying to create, you know, these communities and the approval processes and like all of this is I look at organizations like Valor Farm and I'm very thankful that they figured out that process. But again, this comes back and you're making the point for us here. And I love it. Each state, each city, county, and state's different. Some states are stepping up going, hey man, we got you. We're going to make this work. We're going to figure it out. We're going to it's like anything, right? You can let me come in the military because I'm too old. Let's give you a waiver, man. We'll figure it out. This is a real problem. You have the ability to figure it out, to help. And that's by giving land that maybe you're not using. And instead of doing it for other things, instead of selling it, how about if we give it to an organization that's going to be able to make an impact? And then we make sure that we can house veterans. All of these things are things that can happen. And we need everybody to speak up. So, yeah, I mean, it's just such an interesting topic that unfortunately we're going to have to continue to talk about. But I think, Jim, what you were talking about is really the important part. Come together and everybody's voice needs to be echoing. And it's not just for homelessness. That's one part of it. The other part of it is suicide, right? Because it doesn't matter either side. We don't want anybody to be homeless. We don't want anybody to be taking their life. We got to talk about it to get it there.
Yeah. And the other thing that I forgot to say, which I wrote down, and it's amazing I still forgot to say it, was we have to find a better way than the point in time survey to figure out how many people are actually homeless.
That's right.
I don't have the answer for that on this call, but somewhere in the environment and ethos, there is someone that knows how to do that. And that's what we need to really kind of figure out. I can guarantee you it's not a 1 day in time survey. It's got to be spread out. It's got to be sequential. It's got to be, but I can't believe with all the technology we have and the fact that we have so many veterans spread all over the country that we can't do a better job in figuring out where these people are, how many there are. And I think that's one of the first steps. And we would love to partner and embark on that and get support to do that.
Yeah. Salvation Army may be it. Yeah, that's a good, yeah. There's definitely a lot of options. If you guys have any questions, please don't be shy to post them up. We're going to skip over one of the things Nate, I just want to go straight to the MPO symposium because we're already pretty much at our time today. Look for the MPOs that are out there, for the nonprofit organizations, the veteran service organizations. It's like one thing that we talk about that we're here for. And it's not only for the veteran, it's for you. Here's our thought on this. It's pretty simple. If we support you supporting veterans, then we're supporting veterans. You know what I mean? Like, it's that easy for us. So we want to support you. So part of what we do is we do MPO symposiums across the country. We've got those coming. We'll see you guys. Thank you guys for coming in. We got these around the country. They're going to be coming. I think our next one, Nate, if you can scroll down there, I think it's in Pennsylvania, will be our next one. So you can see right here where it's coming. So we got Gettysburg coming. We got Farmville, Virginia, Texas is give or take. I think DFW, Dallas, maybe down to Houston, somewhere in that area. We're going to have Georgia. And then, of course, Cali. We're going to be somewhere near Los Angeles and San Diego. So somewhere in that area. Listen, we don't want to just do it in these states, right? We want to make this much bigger. Michelle, good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. There's Michelle right there, in fact, for Operation Honor Rural Salute, one of our amazing partners. So it's not just about these locations. We want to spread that out, right? One of the examples is with Michelle Lang. She's focused on the veteran portion of this when we're doing these MPO symposiums. So not only are we going to be focused on you guys from an MPO perspective, great organizations like Michelle and all the others that will be underneath her and what she's doing will be out supporting veterans there at the actual location as well in Gettysburg. So that's just one. And we can't wait to see the relationship continue to grow outside of that. Jim, any kind of final comments from you for today or anything you want to leave everybody on?
Hey, all of us on this call either served or were part of a family that served, or maybe it's been our dad or our mom, or we have a son or daughter in the service. So all of us have a passion for those that have served. And all I will say is that, service never ends. When you take off the uniform, what is in you, in your DNA, to help others, to make things better than the way you found them. It was something we were trained to do. It's something that was expected of us. And that charter is still carried in our pocket. We still need to do that. And the issues we talked today is the next hill to take. And there's a lot of issues that we need to solve. And I would just ask, just try to devote a little bit of your time and your busy schedules to get involved with this at the level you're comfortable, or push yourself out of your comfort zone and dive into it and grab some other folks to be helpful as well. But I've never seen a problem that servicemen and women, when they put their minds and hearts to it, can't solve. And I think homelessness is one of those issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jim, thank you so much for the insight today, taking a little bit of your time to be here. I know you'd love to do it. So I'm looking forward to the future. For everybody that stopped in today, we can't do this without you guys. Please continue to share this, right? We try to have real conversations with real folks. Sometimes it's just Jim and I. Today, we really wanted to focus on the homelessness stuff. We got some other stuff we're going to be focused, but we also have guests. So I believe our next town hall, which will be on July 8th, we'll have a guest. We'll be pushing that out on socials. If you guys have questions, just follow us in any social and you guys will have it. We appreciate you guys. For those that serve, thank you for their service. For those that have families, thank you so much for letting us borrow your loved one for service. And for everybody else, be kind, be nice to somebody, and we'll see you guys on the next one. We'll see you later, Jim.
Thank you.